They were young, they were in love, they were irresponsible. John and Mary, barely adults themselves, danced into parenthood with tequila shots and carefree laughter. Their days were a haze of loud music, late nights, and empty promises whispered to tiny ears. Their home wasn't a haven, but a pit stop between parties, littered with beer cans and shadowed by the spectre of their own fleeting happiness. Their first child, Lily, arrived like a whisper into the chaos. A fragile doll with eyes as blue as the curacao they mixed with their sodas. Then came Daniel, his cries lost in the strum of a guitar and the muffled laughter of strangers. Finally, little Sarah, her arrival barely causing a ripple in their self-absorbed world. They had created life, but they weren't ready to live it, let alone nurture it. John worked construction, his calloused hands bringing home money that slipped through their fingers like grains of sand. It was never enough. Not for rent, not for diapers, but always enough for another bottle of whiskey, another night of oblivion. Mary, her youthful beauty fading like a cheap photograph, found solace at the bottom of a glass, her dreams dissolving into the amber liquid. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, a constant companion to the neglect. Lily, the eldest, learned to quiet her brother's cries with a scrap of bread, a sugar cube salvaged from the bottom of their mother's purse. Their meals were sporadic, their clothes hand-me-downs that hung on their thin frames like forgotten promises. They existed in the shadows, their presence an inconvenience in their parents' pursuit of fleeting pleasure. School became their refuge, a place where the sting of hunger was momentarily dulled by the generosity of a shared lunchbox cookie, a kind teacher's reassuring smile. But even within those walls, they carried the weight of their secret shame, the knowledge that their home was not a sanctuary but a battleground of broken promises and shattered dreams. Their parents' love, like a flickering candle in the wind, offered only glimpses of warmth, brief moments of connection that quickly evaporated in the harsh reality of their neglect. A bedtime story read through alcohol-slurred words, a fleeting hug fueled by a moment's remorse. These were the crumbs of affection they clung to, desperate for any sign that they were more than just burdens to be endured. Birthdays passed like unwelcome guests, marked not by cake and laughter but by the bitter sting of indifference. Lily would find wilted dandelions on the kitchen table, a pathetic attempt at celebration that only served to highlight the depths of their parents' apathy. Daniel, his eyes old beyond their years, stopped asking for gifts, his childhood dreams replaced by a longing for something as simple as a full stomach and a night free from his mother's drunken rages. Christmas mornings were a cruel reminder of their reality. The other children at school would boast of new toys and family gatherings, their joy a stark contrast to the emptiness that awaited Lily, Daniel and Sarah. They would huddle together in their cold, sparsely furnished living room, the silence broken only by the distant sounds of laughter and celebration from other homes. The scent of their parents' hangovers lingered in the air, a potent reminder of their priorities. The remnants of last night's party, empty bottles, cigarette butts, the lingering odor of stale beer, were their only gifts. The children learned to navigate this minefield of neglect, their young lives shaped by the constant threat of their parents' volatile moods and unpredictable behavior. They became ghosts, their presence barely acknowledged by the strangers who drifted in and out of their lives. Their parents' friends, a parade of fleeting faces and slurred words, saw them as inconveniences, their needs easily ignored in the pursuit of fleeting pleasure. Whispers followed them like shadows, whispers of their parents' irresponsibility, of their own misfortune at being born into such a family. They learned to be invisible, to blend into the background, their voices rarely rising above a whisper. To be noticed was to invite scrutiny, to risk the wrath of their parents, who viewed any attention directed at their children as a personal affront. They became masters of self-sufficiency, their young shoulders carrying the weight of responsibilities far beyond their years. The outside world, with its glimpses of normalcy and stability, felt like a distant planet. They observed families at the park, their laughter and shared moments of joy a stark contrast to the chaotic dysfunction of their own lives. The longing for a loving touch, a kind word, a safe haven, gnawed at their young souls, a constant reminder of the love and care they were denied. Their home, a dilapidated testament to their parents' apathy, offered little comfort. The roof leaked, the plumbing sputtered, and the walls echoed with the ghosts of their shattered dreams. It was a prison disguised as a sanctuary, its crumbling facade a reflection of the fractured family within. They slept huddled together for warmth, their dreams haunted by the fear of their parents' drunken rages, the uncertainty of whether there would be food on the table the next day. Lily, her once bright eyes now clouded with worry, assumed the role of surrogate mother to her younger siblings. She cooked, she cleaned, she soothed their fears with a maturity that belied her tender years. Daniel, his spirit slowly being crushed under the weight of neglect, sought solace in solitude, his silence a shield against the pain of his reality. And little Sarah, her innocence slowly fading with each passing day, retreated into a world of make-believe, where love and laughter were abundant, and hunger and fear were nothing more than distant nightmares. Their childhood slipped away like grains of sand through their fingers, each day an exercise in survival. The laughter and joy that should have filled their days were replaced by a heavy silence, a shared understanding that their needs were secondary to their parents' insatiable thirst for oblivion. One day a stranger appeared at their door, a social worker, her eyes filled with a mixture of pity and determination. She had heard the whispers, had seen the evidence of their neglect. For the first time, the children felt a flicker of hope, a glimmer of light in their dark and lonely world. They were removed from their home, their parents' protests drowned out by the sirens that promised a different kind of future. The foster home was a revelation. There were clean clothes, regular meals, and a structure that felt both foreign and comforting. For the first time, they experienced the simple joys of childhood. Bedtime stories read in soothing voices, birthday parties with colorful balloons and homemade cake, the warmth of a loving embrace. But even in this haven of normalcy, the scars of their past lingered. They flinched at raised voices, their sleep disturbed by nightmares of empty cupboards, and their mother's drunken rages. The fear of abandonment, deeply ingrained in their young psyches, cast a long shadow over their newfound happiness. Visits with their parents were a bittersweet ordeal. John, his eyes clouded with remorse, would bring them candy, his touch awkward and unfamiliar. Mary, her beauty ravaged by years of hard living, would make promises she had no intention of keeping, her words slurred and hollow. The children, torn between their longing for their parents' love and the painful reality of their neglect, clung to these fleeting moments of connection, their young hearts unable to comprehend the depth of their parents' dysfunction. As the weeks turned into months, the visits became less frequent, the phone calls fewer and farther between. John, unable to escape the demons that haunted him, drifted further into alcoholism, his promises of redemption dissolving into the bottom of a bottle. Mary, her spirit broken by years of bad choices and missed opportunities, found solace in the arms of other men, her children's faces fading into distant memories. The children, their hopes slowly dwindling with each unanswered phone call, each broken promise, began to accept the bitter truth. Their parents were incapable of providing the love and stability they so desperately craved. The pain of this realization cut deep, leaving behind a void that threatened to swallow them whole. The foster family, their hearts touched by the children's resilience, opened their home and their hearts. They provided stability, structure, and an abundance of love, slowly chipping away at the walls the children had erected around their hearts. Lily blossomed under their care, her inherent kindness and maturity shining through. Daniel, his silence replaced by shy smiles, discovered a passion for drawing, his artwork a reflection of the turmoil he had endured and the hope he now dared to embrace. And little Sarah, her laughter echoing through the house, finally allowed herself to be a child, her nightmares replaced by dreams filled with princesses and happily ever afters. Yet, the question of their parents lingered, a spectre haunting their newfound happiness. They couldn't erase the memories, the pain, the longing for a connection that seemed forever out of reach. The foster parents, their love unconditional, understood the children's struggle. They encouraged them to talk about their feelings, to express their anger, their sadness, their confusion. They explained that their parents' choices were not a reflection of their worth, but a consequence of their own struggles. They taught them the importance of forgiveness, of letting go of the anger and resentment that could poison their spirits. Then came the news, delivered with gentle words and tear-filled eyes. Their parents, in a final act of selfishness, had relinquished their parental rights. They were free to be adopted, to truly become part of this family who had taken them in and shown them the true meaning of love. The news was a double-edged sword. It brought a sense of relief, a finality that allowed them to move forward without the weight of false hope. But it also brought a profound sadness, a grief for the parents they had never truly had, the family they would never be. The adoption day was filled with a mixture of joy and sorrow. As they stood before the judge, their hands clasped tightly in the hands of their new parents, they couldn't help but think of the parents who had brought them into this world, but had been incapable of providing the love and stability they deserved. The freedom they had longed for came with a bittersweet aftertaste, a reminder that sometimes the greatest love stories are written not in blood, but in the unwavering commitment of those who choose to open their hearts and homes to children who need it most. Their story, though born out of tragedy and neglect, became a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the transformative power of love, and the unwavering belief that even in the darkest of times, hope can bloom in the most unexpected of places.